6:45.
Call this meeting to order at 6 o'clock. Approval of the minutes. We all read the minutes?
Oh, yes.
Any discussion on that? A motion to pass, approve?
I make a motion that we approve the minutes.
And I will second that.
Wayne has made a motion to accept the minutes, and Donna has seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Right?
Aye. What? Did you say yes?
I said aye.
Aye. Okay. All those opposed?
Aye.
Minutes are approved. That's always the easiest part. Appearance, did I not get the list? We have no interested citizens?
They're just here.
No. Well, this might be a short meeting today.
Good. Then you change your mind, let us know.
So. Helps my pencil writes. New old business, naming garden in Chalmers Jones Park. So we had a, yes, Robert.
I can take the lead on that
Okay.
if you want. So staff was contacted by a Keizer citizen, and there was a recommendation made for renaming the park, the garden specifically, within Chalmers Jones Park. And that name would be Peggy and Jerry Moore Community Garden now. And so we would like the Parks Board to consider recommending to council of that renaming.
Yes,
I'll make that motion.
I will second that motion.
Donna seconded. So we have a motion to name it, whatever he said.
Peggy and Jerry Moore Community Garden.
Thank you. I kind of a little hard of hearing today. So
Why
any
is she
discussion?
So,
She's shaking her head.
No?
Too late.
You want to speak? Come on up and speak at us.
so, Mr. Chair, while Peggy is debating whether or not she wants to come up, I originally kind of brought this up with the Parks Board a couple months ago, kind of out of sequence. The way the process is supposed to go is a citizen is supposed to make the request, and the request was Peggy and Jerry Moore have been the caretakers for the garden for many years now. They have taken the garden from a scrappy community blemish to one that is cherished and accepted and used by many. They've installed fencing, created greenhouse, and made the garden a thriving spot that makes many donations to the Marion Polk County Food Bank. They donate hundreds of hours each season to the care and upkeep of that facility, and their time, efforts, and organization qualify them for consideration as the namesake for the garden. So that's kind of the background of how we got there. I have spoken with both Peggy and Jerry specifically about this. They are very humble volunteers that do not demand, expect, or want very much appreciation or recognition for the work they do. And when we talked about this, I think they were reluctant but yet appreciative at the same time. And so I guess, Peggy, as I'm sitting here watching you shake your head, I'm gathering that I don't know if you're being humble or you really hate this idea.
Doing this.
So Mr. Chair, I don't know if you want to hear from Peggy, but
Yes,
I'm Peggy Moore from
turn your
Keizer.
microphone on.
He's on.
It's
Oh.
on.
Oh, okay.
Maybe bring it closer. There you go.
Yeah, I'm Peggy Moore from Keizer, and we are very appreciative of the attention. But number one, we really don't want anything named after us. To me, it's a community garden. It should belong to the members of the community who garden there. And just the people involved. And yes, we do a lot of work, but, you know, it's our guilty pleasure. We can't have anything to do with naming it. You'd have to go to Marion Polk Food Share. We haven't talked to them about it. However, a couple of people have mentioned to us that it's been in the newspaper, and is it going to happen? And we don't get the newspaper, so that kind of caught us off guard too. Matt caught us off guard the first time he talked to us. It was like, it's not just that we're humble, it's just that it's community garden.
And it
It's
still
through
is.
a community network.
It still is community garden after your name.
So could you repeat the name again?
Yes. It's proposed right now to be the Peggy and Jerry Moore Community Garden.
So, and I don't know, I mean, you mentioned needing permission from Marion Polk Food Share, which I don't think it's, they don't own the asset. It's the city's asset. I don't think we need any permission from them. I also don't want to put you guys in a position where you feel, this is not intended to be negative whatsoever.
I understand
You know,
that.
I think this is coming from a very genuine place where everybody up here on the dais has had your tomatoes and your vegetables
Oh,
that you
yeah.
brought in. And, you know, my place is just from a very genuine position of you guys have really made something into nothing, or nothing into something.
Or close enough?
I was on a roll.
Yeah.
You've made something out of nothing, and there are opportunities where the city has an ability to just say thanks and to memorialize the efforts that you and Jerry have put forth. And it is a terribly uncomfortable position to be told thank you in some ways. And so I see when CERT set up the water station, well, this year when Salem was suffering water crisis, everybody was appreciating the garden you guys had set up. A lot of people asked about why it was what it was. I was hearing the stories, and so it's a much bigger thing. I will tell you, if you are so terribly uncomfortable with the recommendation, you know, maybe we need to kind of revisit it. But I think I don't want to withdraw my nomination for it unless, you know, Jerry comes up here and grabs me by the ear and says you're going to do this. But that's just my own personal take on it. But I'm only one vote.
Well, we do appreciate the recognition that we do work and that we've improved it, and we intend on improving it every year that we're involved, but I don't know.
Well, now you'd have to because your name would be on it.
Would it be helpful to just call it the Moore Community Garden rather than your first name?
I don't know. It does seem very kind of awkward or something, you know, and we don't want to like make people think we took possession of it.
No,
Nobody
We
would
don't
No, no.
think that.
want them to think that the only reason we did it is for that.
no.
And
We're doing it for the leadership. You provided leadership.
I think that's a great point, Donna. I think it's to inspire the next generation of folks to want to pick up your mantle. It's to show that Keizer is built on the back of volunteers, and if folks can just get a little bit of recognition, even though they don't want it and they might be a little bit uncomfortable with it, you know, Clint doesn't wake up, you know, almost every day of the summer at 3 a.m. to go water because he wants something named after him. It's because he loves it, right? Wayne didn't build a
I love it.
soccer facility because he wanted somebody to, you know, say, "Oh, Wayne's the greatest guy in the whole world." No, it's because we care about our community, right?
yes,
And
I
so
understand that.
it's a small token of the city's appreciation to say thanks and to hopefully have somebody go, "Oh, you know, I remember the work they were doing last year, and you know, that's them. Maybe I want to talk to them. Maybe I want to be the next Peggy and Jerry," right? Because right now it's generic name park in that part. I can't ever say it. Chalmers Jones.
Who is also named after a person who
Right.
contributed to the
Right,
city.
right.
Yes. So if we just named it Community Gardens, the problem with that is there's a lot of community gardens around. Has to have another part to that name to identify where we're talking about. And it's no bad, I agree with everybody here.
Pardon me? A pet? No.
No.
It's available.
We distinctly want it
free as the
named after a
breeze.
person who's gone over and above the volunteer
Okay,
process.
Rowan?
Thank you, Chair. I agree with everybody here, and I'm going to tell you from my experience, when I retired in 2002, you can ask Clint, they dedicated the field house, and I thought it was a stupid idea, but now that my grandkids are over there playing ball, I think it's kind of cool to have your name on something, because it tells you something about the history, and you folks are a big part of, started the whole thing, and it's very appropriate. You do have this humbling feeling, like I don't, but trust me, you deserve it. That's my 2 cents.
Well, you know, I think too about the people who started the garden, who worked for a year and a half or so to even get it started, you know, and we just stepped in when they got burnt out.
In my mind, you're the heart and soul of that place.
Well, and Jerry kind of threw you under the bus a little bit on it, because you guys were there at the beginning, helping along with that
We were there at
process.
the very beginning.
So you've been there since inception, right? And you've stuck through it. You've been through the hard times, the good times, and again, you've turned something that was not necessarily, it was a bare piece of land, into something that's very valuable to the people of Keizer and Marion County and Polk County. So, again, I personally am not willing to withdraw my recommendation unless you tell me I have to, but that's just me.
I'm not in favor of withdrawing either. I think you should leave it there.
I feel like I'm in the principal's office. doing a lecture.
It's like getting called to the principal's office when you get awarded for your birthday. You're like, I'm not really sure what's happening.
Peggy, I just want to thank you and Jerry, for all the work that you've done on the garden. While you were working in the garden, did the other gardeners come up and say, hey, thank you, and for putting all this together?
They did.
Any memories from that you'd like to share?
No. We're just always, you know, trying to improve it, because the majority of the gardeners that we have are low income or fixed income. So I guess it's kind of my thing to make sure they're fed. That's also Marion Polk Food Chair's thing, is to feed people. So I just like to make sure that people have all the food that we can possibly get for them. And then they're very generous, you know, when they have more than what they can use and realize they won't be able to use it, they donate it. They share with each other. And I guess I kind of like teaching people how to garden also.
You're doing a really bad job of talking us out of it. But that's why I think we all want to see it happen.
And I bet you that all the people that you've helped would like to see it happen as well.
Can I leave now?
Yes, you're excused.
Well, I guess it's out of our hands or whatever, but,
Well,
you know, we just don't want people to feel like we take ownership of it
Absolutely
just because we're
not.
down there, you know, shoveling wood chips or
Absolutely not.
delivering compost or something.
I don't think anybody feels that way, sincerely. If they do, then they should come to us and talk to us
They
about it.
should come down there and work with us, huh? Some of them do, once in a while. Okay, I'm done.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your
Thank you.
sincerity.
If, I'm just gonna tell them this,
I think we just got another speaker.
if everything goes okay and promises are kept, we're gonna have solar there by the end of the week.
Yay!
It cost us a lot more than what we had planned, but we
always-
scrounged and we got more funding for it, and it's covered now. So
Good job.
it's almost double
Good
what
work.
the original plan was, but we're getting 1,200 watts instead of 600 watts.
Wow.
Because the outfit that's doing it is out of Tualatin, and that's all they do is solar panels. And they said that 600 watts would not take care of that. You have to have at least 1,200 to do it.
Maybe you can hook up the gazebo to them.
And it's going to wind up costing $4,500, but we got them down to $3,000 and $1,500 donation,
Again, leadership.
tax
Thank you.
donation.
what do we have in the
So-
grant right now for on this one?
So, and we wound up, and we got the money for it, so.
Can we amend it?
If everything's fine by this time next week, we'll have it in.
Good.
Foundation is still behind you.
So do we have a motion on the table?
We do.
We did, and we passed it. No, we didn't pass it. Didn't we? Oh,
Still under discussion.
oh, okay.
Any
But what's
further
the
discussion?
motion?
All right, so all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes.
We're gonna put neon lights up and everything.
So,
Yeah.
so my
Christmas lights
my
flashing.
car is a burgundy Ford SUV. If you want to go key somebody's car, it's a burgundy Ford SUV.
Liar, liar.
Great.
So the next order of business is naming the Arboretum. I have no idea what that.
I don't either.
Okay, so at Keizer Rapids Park, there's a new tree arboretum down there, and
Jeez.
Rotary was heavily involved in that. And I once again was contacted by a member of the Keizer citizen, Mark Collier, and you guys have the packet of information that he sent us with all the information on it. But basically, the proposal here is to go ahead and name the tree arboretum the Keizer Rotary Arboretum in honor of Wilbur Bloom.
Right.
And hopefully most of you know who Wilbur is. He's been an outstanding volunteer in the Salem-Keizer area with plants and trees, and his knowledge is unbeatable, in my opinion. He's a very special person, and he's been involved in this project and many others. I think he could probably tell you every single tree in Salem and Keizer and has it logged somewhere in a folder, so that's pretty unique. So very supportive of that. So
Good.
once again, we are asking you guys to consider recommending to council the naming of which I said.
I'll make that motion that we do that.
A second.
Do what?
Name it like he,
No, there's already a sign there, something like that, with
Correct.
Wilbur Bloom's name on it.
Yep, and that's explained in this the information that was.
Yes.
You guys don't have that? It was in the.
Yeah, it's in the.
It was
It's in the packet.
Yeah.
I don't have it
Emailed
on
to all
mine
of
either.
you?
Well, no, it was online.
Oh, online, okay.
Yeah, and I sent it to you via email.
Yeah, I haven't looked at my email for a while. Sorry.
Okay.
Okay.
Motion and a
Is
second.
there a motion on the table? Oh, yes, you made a motion. Do we have a second?
I seconded.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to name the Arboretum Wilbur Blum. Is that how you?
Wilbur Bloom.
Keizer
Oh,
It would be. It would be.
Keizer Rotary,
Shall I say it one more time?
Yeah.
So we all know. Okay. The Keizer Rotary Arboretum in honor of Wilbur Bloom.
Okay. Any discussion?
So
Yes, Donna.
I just wonder if we couldn't shorten it just a bit. That sounds like a big mouthful to put on a sign.
it's there. If you read Mark's sort of synopsis on it, if it wasn't named the way it is, Wilbur would have zero part of it whatsoever, because it is a huge Rotary. There's some material in here on the background at it. Basically, the Rotary president national challenged every Rotarian to plant a tree throughout the United States. This was kind of that project, because it was that, and it is Wilbur. I mean, basically, it's this or nothing, is kind of what it boiled down to as we kind of talked to him. So it is a mouthful, but Wilbur's the guy that gives it 110% every time he does it. So if he's going to make you say a lot, he's going to make you say a lot.
So,
Discussion?
so what kind of signage are we proposing to put up?
It's already there. It's right
It's already there.
It's right there.
Oh, never mind.
Yeah.
What's the upkeep on something like that?
The sign says,
Nothing?
Very minimal.
the
And,
Keizer Rotary Arboretum in honor of Wilbur Bloom.
Yeah, it's just,
and it
Well,
gives you an
then
ex-
why are we even voting if it already
we're
exists?
making this official.
Oh, okay.
And
The Keizer Rotary Arboretum in honor of Wilbur Bloom.
again, the information was emailed to you, so if you want to read up on it and get yourself up
I
to
did
speed,
not see that.
the information's all there.
Do you want to see the letter? But yeah, during the process, I mean, Wilbur's out there. He helped the student from Chemeketa basically identify, do the layout based off of canopy heights, all that. Plus, he's like Robert said, he's been involved in everything since forever as it relates to Rotary and everything like that.
Yeah, I
so.
didn't realize that it was already in place. Like I said, I did not see that addition to the packet, so sorry, so it's kind of a moot point.
Well, it's a formalization, I think, more than anything.
Exactly.
Call for the question.
No, I was going to ask, any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Right.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes. Oh, here's Robert's favorite part. The 3 to 5 year parks plan for dedicated park fee.
Yeah, so you have it in front of you, finally. Something that Bill Lawyer and I have been working on very hard over the last couple months. And we've taken all the information that we've had in front of us ever since we started this conversation of, making significant updates to our parks system-wide. And hopefully you guys can just take time and read over this. It's not something that we're looking for any answers on tonight. But eventually we would like to all agree on the next 5 years, and you could recommend something to council maybe at the next meeting on this, but it's, I'd be willing to answer any questions, whether it's tonight or at the next meeting or via email this month. So
I can see one question now.
Yeah.
The first year, there's one project there called Replace 2000 F-250.
It's a truck.
Oh, it's a truck, okay.
A really old truck.
Okay.
So down there on year 2,
Like
You
18
have-
years old.
big toy shelters. What kind of shelter were you planning to put in there?
similar to what we have at the volleyball court that Hans Snyder.
Said you wanted that.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're going to put 2 of those the same size
Yes, that's the plan.
in the lawn or?
In the lawn.
Oh, good, there'd be less lawn to mow.
Less lawn to mow, and I actually designed the sprinkler system originally to allow for 2 shelters, so we're not redesigning the wheel here. So that would be kind of nice.
Okay.
I have a question about, on the 2-year plan, it says replace Northview stairs.
Yes,
And the 1 year, it says replace swing set.
yes.
Are the stairs in that bad a condition that they should be done first? Is it something that more people would have?
No. So the stairs are something that comes down the hillside off of Wiesner Drive, and the swing sets are definitely used more often.
Okay,
Yeah,
thank you.
that's something that's in the playground.
Thank you.
We did just, at Northview Park, just as a reminder, we did just pour and pave a new asphalt pathway to the playground area and the new sports court there. So that's the main access, and it's a really good one now.
Thank you.
Yes, Matt?
So the only one in the first 3 years, the only one, first of all, I want to say I'm very excited to see the skate park on here. I know that was a very big sort of
Urgent.
part for a lot of the counselors. We did get a little bit of extra time because of the work that was done last summer. Or I guess it was 2 summers ago now,
Yeah,
wasn't
2
it?
now.
So we bought a little bit of time, but now that, so this is the redesign of the bowl area, this is resurfacing, this is basically bringing it up to modern standards, right? Original estimate was $750,000 to $1 million. We're not even in that ballpark now, right?
No, we're not. We were able to do enough work to the kind of the flat work, I'll call it, and sanding it, and that would be continued. But mainly the focus here would be to rebuild the bowls and those items that were pointed out to us that are unsafe. And technology's come a long way since that skate park's been built. They're building things differently now, and we just want to update those particular items.
So the only thing, from a safety perspective, a continuing thing that I've heard over the last year has been the pathway lighting at Bear Park. We're not looking at probably till year 3. I'd like to see where we can try to squeeze that in year 1 if possible, if year 2. Bear Park has become a bear. Not only for lighting, there was some discussion about some cleanup needs, but it was cleaned up, if I recall, back in the spring, right?
Yeah, there was a very detailed cleanup done this summer. We mow it.
Right.
I don't know really. I would recommend whoever's making those recommendations to come back and have that discussion with us, because
There was path work done, right?
oh yeah, we had
So
a
I
new
think that's what it was the
Leveling?
the leftovers.
path work. Yeah,
The
if there's anything else that people are wanting done to that park, I invite them back to a meeting, because
Sure.
I don't really know what else we can do.
Well, I just think the pathway lighting, I mean, knowing kids,
short of that.
knowing kids that go through there in the morning, especially when it's dark, and then after hours, is just one of those things that, as we've cleaned up that park, we've made it more accessible, but we've also sort of, by making it more accessible, made it a little bit more challenging for accessibility during dark hours and stuff like that. So that's the only real recommendation I would see, is try to move that up the list. If hopefully in the first year, if we can make it work, if not the second year. So, I mean, other than that, I think the list is, I'm really happy to see Willamette Manor Sport Court replacement on here. And that's a full replacement, not just a resurfacing, right?
That is correct.
So this is tearing it down to the core, rebuilding the core, everything's brand new. This is not, okay.
Correct.
So that should hopefully squash any issues of cracking or anything else that's been experienced over the last few years.
Correct.
Excellent. Robert, I have a question. The park priorities 3 to 5 year plan, is that already pretty much set in concrete, or is it still, like what Matt just wanted to do, can we suggest priority changes?
That's what we're doing right now.
Okay.
This is not set in concrete. This is
Okay.
our proposal, and we're wanting to discuss it.
So, after what Matt said, I was wondering what tree work systems wide means.
Yeah. So we have recognized the need for system-wide tree work. So when we say system-wide, that's in our entire park system in Keizer. So because of the size of our budget in the past, we have not been able to do the large-scale tree work that was needed done. We were really doing tree work based on direct safety needs and complaints. And there's a lot of tree work that we need to be doing to prevent safety issues from forming in the future. And we are way behind on that. And just in Keizer Rapids Park alone, if you think of how many trees we own in that park, we could keep some tree guys busy for a long time. We have a lot of trails through that park. And that's just one park. I'm not trying to just pick on Keizer Rapids. I mean,
Okay.
if you go out in our parks and you look up, we own a lot of trees, and we own a lot of big trees.
So that's
And
something-
they need some
That's something
preventative
that's-
work.
Yeah, that's something that's gonna go on yearly, every
Yes,
year.
it will be yearly. It will be sizable for the first 3 or 4 years, and then we can probably start to taper that back once we start to get caught up. But we wanted to make sure we identified it on this list, because it is still a significant project and a significant number.
Are you considering any contract work for that?
Yes, we contract most of our tree work out. City staff does not climb trees.
So, looking at what Matt said about the pathway at Bear Park, I agree, the people came in and spoke with us, and they were quite concerned about the pathways that weren't level with the ground, about wheelchairs and et cetera. Wasn't that Bear Park?
No, I think that specifically was Wallace House.
Oh, okay.
But I think that
Same problem
for the most part,
exists.
the leveling's all been remedied mostly, right?
So the leveling, as far as the soil
Right.
leveling next to the pathways, is not 100% remedied yet. We have been working on it. The contractor was able to leave some spoils on site at certain parks. Wallace House was not one of them, because they did not actually have to go in and excavate anything out. They weren't widening the path, so they were just simply doing an overlay. So we now need to figure out how to bring material, whatever that material is in, to the park and grade up to the edge of those pathways. That's something we've been working on. The weather is not helping us any right now. We've now transitioned officially into soggy winter. So accessing tractors and heavy equipment in some of these areas is basically impossible at this point, given the weather. But it's something that's on our list, and we will continue to work on as we can.
And I appreciate that. And I understand what you're saying about the weather, and it's just not the right time of year to get out there and really dig in the mud or the rain, whatever. I would like to see the pathway lighting issue and the rest of the pathway issues that are possibly hazardous in the parks become a priority in year one. And if that means you have to cut down on some of the tree work, so be it. But I think because it could be a safety issue in many instances, that needs particular attention in this year.
So we're talking two different issues here. We're talking pathway lighting at Bear Park. It's one item. And then the pathway soil and or fill project, which we are already doing in our current budget cycle. That will be done this year.
It's not
So
on
not
the
year
list.
one is in next year, but we are handling that this year.
It's going to be done by the end of December?
No,
No,
by-
July.
By the end of our fiscal cycle that we're
Okay.
in, June 30th.
Okay, so it wasn't on the list, and that's why
Correct.
I just wanted to bring that
So
up.
that's left over. Okay.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, Roland's got his.
I've got one.
Yes.
On year two, there's two items that I'm not sure what they are. Demo charge house and gravel pad for food trucks, and power and water for food truck pads. Which park are we looking at?
Yeah, so that's at Keizer Rapids Park. The charge house is the greenhouse that sits next to the amphitheater. And there's been various meetings and conversations over a number of years discussing what to do with that house. Whether we want to completely remodel the house, tear it down, start over fresh, do something. We need to do something. It is getting of the age now where it's going to, it needs to get tore down if we're not going to remodel it. And basically long-term down there, remodeling that house is probably not the best, most cost-effective, usable way to go with that. So for now, as a safety item, we would like to just remove the house, and then the city manager has proposed some conversation about what to do down there as support of the amphitheater for events. And I can't really speak to what that looks like, but
So
That's
these
what I know.
pads might be where that house
that'd be
currently
correct.
is.
Yeah.
Okay.
That area would become something else as support to the amphitheater for concerts or weddings or other large events.
This is a really good argument to have. Talking about prioritization, that means we have money to do stuff. It's kind of cool.
Yes.
Mr. Chair, I think Roland had a.
Yes.
Roland has a question.
Yes, Roland.
I have a quick question. And I can't see, I can only see half as good, you know?
Oh, whatever.
Did I miss the, did it not make the cut, the lighting for Bear Park? I mean, for Country Glen Park, or is that not on here?
Is that bridge that goes into the other neighborhood?
I'm sorry?
Is that the bridge that goes into the other neighborhood, or?
You know, that corner, and there's been a lot of vandalism more than ever this year. And we had talked about maybe possibly putting lighting, and apparently it didn't make the cut. Or is it in here?
It's not in there.
You know, the lighting stuff's already set up there, I've located there, and it's already, the line's already there.
On the trail going over to Keizer neighborhood?
Yeah. The riffraff's picked up quite a bit over there. I mean, every morning I pick up a lot of, I won't say what I pick up, but I pick up a lot of stuff. And I've discussed it with Robert.
So,
I just thought it would be, you know,
well-
second or third year.
can we, if somebody could propose a plan for that of specifically where we would be adding lights, whether it's, because there's some lights already existing, right, north of the bridge. So are we proposing that we add lights from the bridge to Country Glen Park, basically over to the playground, and lights over to Hidden Creek Park.
The T, where the T is, that's where the activity is, and the towards the, basically it's 2 more lights, that's all it is.
Just 2 more lights.
Basically, that's all it is. Somebody told me 3, but I thought 2 would be efficient to serve for what we needed to.
Sure.
But,
could,
I understand how you've done this, and by the way, you can see a lot of improvement in a lot of areas, not only Country Glen, but from the standpoint of activity, it's been quite a bit. And, I thought about letting you go for a while so I could see what's happening, but there's kids that play there, and we need to get some of that stuff out of there, and things that I see in the ground. The smokers, and they're getting pretty serious now.
So if the board agrees, we could probably partner that project with the Bear Park one. It would make sense if we're hiring a contractor to do lighting, to go ahead and
Do both.
do both.
In year 3?
No, I mean,
Well, let's just,
Down the road.
let's
Parallel
package it
that,
in the, as
time
far as
limits on
the
other time.
item goes, and then we can sort out what year that happens.
I mean, so my, Mr. Chair, if I can be indulged for one more comment. I'm kind of at a duality on thought here, because I know that you're dealing with an 18-year-old truck that's been suffering from in-city use, been, probably beyond its life cycle a couple times over now, which I think is important. But in my opinion, I think that lighting and safety and access to our parks is equally important. And so if it's cost effective to work that in, and maybe, kick down a little bit of the tree system work, or what have you, I would certainly like to personally see it try to get done in year 1 for the lighting projects. So that's just.
So the only thing I would like to add to that is we purposely chose to hold off on that truck this last go around when we bought new trucks,
Right.
in order to get a jump start on some of the other projects. We wanted to get out there, and that was kind of whether or not we did Northview Park or not this year.
Sure.
And we chose, let's get Northview Park done, and let's get out there and knock some of these projects out that we've been talking about. So we purposely held off on that truck 1 year already. So that would be technically putting it out 2 years, not just 1 more year. It was something that we wanted to do in our original plan, but chose not to.
I understand. I mean, you guys know what the needs are specifically on equipment and stuff, but I just want to be mindful of making sure we're finding a good balance. And maybe it's one of those things as project costs and stuff come in on some of these other projects, and you recognize towards the end of the year, you've got an ability to kind of put this piece in, because you don't have to have ideal weather for electric work, right? So maybe as, let's say you budgeted X amount of dollars and you're within that range at the end of the year, you can squeeze this in. It would be good to see that.
I agree with Matt. I think it's important to address this lighting issue as a priority, bigger than year 3. So if something comes up and it's possible to do one or both, that would be great. I would also like to see it listed on this as saying, if budget
Like in an
and
asterisk or
time
something.
fits, yes, we will address this year. Or if it doesn't happen this year, then the following year. You see what I'm saying? Okay, thank you.
Yes, Matt?
One other question. As far as like the charge house demo and stuff like that, is that something that can be done? Does it need to be because of electrical and some of the sort of house-related stuff? It has to be contracted out. It can't be something done.
I couldn't answer that
Okay.
right now. I can find out. You're asking if volunteers could do it?
I mean, people not just get every Tom, Dick, and Harry out there with a hammer, but get folks that know how to properly run the equipment, and
Habitat for Humanity might be interested in some of that
Habitat.
too.
They'd love the material.
Bet.
Yeah.
Oh.
So it could be a great habitat project for them to come and actually do the demos. I've participated in those in different states, so it might be a good way to get that done for very little cost. Either that, or I know a whole bunch of Cub Scouts. You can give them little 5-pound sledges, and they'd be happy.
Oh, I can just see the
We'd
blood
have
now.
small holes about 3 feet high, but
Everything above 5 foot, forget it.
I think the plan at this point was to basically take an excavator and stuff it in those boxes and haul it away as quickly as possible. But if Habitat was interested, I don't know why we
if
wouldn't.
somebody got this organized with Habitat next summer for, say,
Yeah.
you would not say no.
I don't think we would.
Yes, Wayne.
I got one. Robert, on year 5, we've got expand parking lot by the dog park at Keizer Rapids.
Yes.
Where would you expand into?
So basically, year 5, just so everybody knows, we are now basically starting to attempt to build out the master plan in areas that we've talked about. So one thing that's been discussed over the last couple of years was to add additional parking, and it's in the master plan. It's shown directly south of the existing parking lot at the dog park, so that we've left room specifically for this parking lot and a sports court that will fit in between the existing parking lot of the dog park and the sand volleyball. Correct. When we rebuilt the sand volleyball, I went out and measured and made sure we kept it far enough away that we could add these 2 items in, which are listed on the master plan.
Yes, Clint?
So why wouldn't you expand the parking lot up on the north end? Because there's another exit there, and I see people trying to park right there anyway sometimes and let their dogs out and different stuff like that, up on Shamawa.
Because this would support the amphitheater, the volleyball, the sports court all at once.
Okay.
That would not.
But one of the reasons I bring this up, one of the problems that happens is the dogs go after each other at that dog park, mostly right there when they go into the gate. It's too much activity right there. People leaving, people coming in, dogs trying to bite each other. But if we take some of that surplus and put it to the other end, where there's already a walk-in gate, I think that will help the dogs and the problems that happen there. And there's room up there. I mean, even if you only had parking for 15 cars.
Sure. So if you look at year 2, we have second from the bottom, master plan and SDC methodology update. That is the time to bring up new items that you would like to see on the master plan, such as that one, Clint.
Okay?
And we specifically left that on this list fairly high up. You know, it's not year 1, but it's year 2, because we would like to get that all sorted out
Can you
before we
put a note
continue.
there to look at that, putting the parking up there?
Plan on not being here next year?
I mean, not, you just never know.
I will
He
put a
might
note.
Win the lottery,
But
you
you
never
keep better
know.
records than I do, so.
I will keep a note, Clint, but
Okay.
I'm not going to touch that.
I've been looking at this for years and watching what's happening there, and it makes sense to put.
I understand.
some
There's some
parking up there.
complications with that, though. You don't want to just have free-for-all coming on and off of Shamawa Road there.
Correct.
And how you keep that organized, I'm not sure. Maybe a one-way parking lot possibly would be an option, but
Right.
Not much room there. Yes, Matt?
I have one final note.
Yeah, right. One, mark that down.
On this particular item. And I just, I put a post out on the 2 Keizer's Facebook pages and just kind of asked for people to show up, and Mike Panelone did, so good to see Mike. He was going to come anyways, so. One of the things that was brought up was picnic shelters and then some shade options at Keizer Rapids. I know that obviously we've got the picnic shelters being looked at, so that's good. The other one, and this is one that's been kind of a consistent theme probably in the last year, and that is the wheelchair accessible swings, which is a little bit different than the swings we've got now. Recognizing, and I think we've talked about this before, but there's some challenges in terms of the manufacturers that we've been using so far may not have those currently in their inventory, and blending manufacturers sometimes creates issues of warranty and costs and other things like that, right?
can, yes.
Okay, so what I would like to maybe see is, as we look at some of the swing options, it's not just putting the swing in, because you have to think about the path leading up to the area. You also have to think about the surface. So when you say you're replacing a swing set at Northview, it's probably not feasible in this round to say we're going to do a wheelchair accessible swing, because the current surface there would not allow for that to be going in, correct?
That is correct.
So in looking at that, in the long term, right, my recommendation might be to maybe add one or two additional sort of regular style swings that don't that may allow for an accommodation later on. So if that could be looked at, so as you're looking at it, maybe see, okay, who's the manufacturer that does these things, figure out what their print looks like, and then figure out an option to sort of add that later on. That way, when we do get to the point of doing a new fall surface and looking at that, we can then sort of piggyback off that and put that accessible swing in.
Yeah, that, and when we get to replacing some play structures,
Right.
It'd be a great time to continue that conversation.
Yeah.
Knowing that we will be putting in the right surfacing at those locations at that time, and to continue to, do our best to include those style of swings.
And Northview may be a more challenging park in general to do a swing like that. I think your Keizer Rapids or your Claggett or something like that might be a little bit more ADA accessible, especially for somebody in a wheelchair.
Yeah.
But you also have to keep in mind: are we talking about just a wheelchair, or are we talking about a motorized wheelchair? Right.
Yeah.
Then you're talking about capacity issues and things like
Oh, yeah,
that. So
big difference.
But there have been a good amount of folks in Keizer that have been around for a long time that have asked that question. I think it's, having had family that's been in wheelchairs, I think it's a really good question to ask as we're looking at our accessibility moving forward. So otherwise, personally, I think it's a great plan. It's a cool plan. It's awesome to be able to sit here and talk about a plan instead of talking about what we can't do.
Yeah.
So great work.
Thanks.
All right. This sounds like your bailiwick again, Robert. Discuss on Claggett Creek Linear Park.
I'm going to hand this one over to Matt, because Matt was able to meet with the person who sent the email to us on that.
So, Mr. Chair, this is kind of, so Richard Walsh, former Keizer City Councilor, former Parks Board member, is kind of bringing up the issue of through the safe routes to parks, but also sort of the safe routes to schools, but also really just sort of a centralized path concept for the city of Keizer. His grand design and his brain would go from basically the Croc Center all the way out to essentially Stats Lake and possibly even north along River Road, with a path that would accommodate folks on bicycles and walking, and then create a natural green area essentially right through the east side spine of Keizer. The immediate request was to try to apply for the Safe Route to Parks grant, which closed yesterday. So even though it was suggested, I think about a month ago, Debbie, was that about a month ago that?
Last meeting, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, we still didn't have enough time to get this in front of the council, let alone have a plan on what to look at. But it's one of those things where there are cities like Bend that have been able to kind of do these organically before they develop. Springfield did do the bike path along the Amazon, or I guess it was Eugene. But it's certainly one of those things that I think warrants some discussion, but I am personally very hesitant to want to say from the parks dais, hey, this is what we're going to do. I think there are options as the lower part of the cow pasture property eventually gets turned over to the city, which is the process, right? The city is getting that property, right? Maybe starting with something there, sort of a boardwalk with a natural area that might kind of spur some additional desire to connect other elements of the city. But specifically on this on this process, I think this is very much a long-term discussion. The grant early on would be used to determine some feasibility issues, determine some of the construction challenges, environmental challenges, and other things related to a project of this scale. But really, we've kind of kicked the can down the road on this particular conversation, mostly as a function of no budget, but also because I don't think anybody's really had the vision to kind of carry this thing forward. in coordination probably with the pedestrian safety committee and possibly what's the other one you're on?
Traffic safety, bikeways,
Bikeways, pedestrian. So there could be some cross-board committee collaboration in discussing this, but it's certainly something that would, in a long-term discussion, provide a tremendous benefit to the city of Keizer. Again, my opinion on it is that it is a nature that you're dealing with people's property access, you're dealing with potentially people's actual property, because there are, as you know, David, better probably than anybody, we do have some property limitations along the path, especially going to Northridge, and accessibility issues and all these other things. And so I think this is one of those things, if somebody wants to champion the project, we have to start first by talking with the neighbors adjacent to the actual greenway and starting to really kind of do it a grassroots thing. I think if it's government saying you will, we're going to get a tremendous amount of negative pushback. I think if it's us working with neighbors to try to make this a collaborative effort, we're going to have a lot more positive response and a lot more opportunity for buy-in early on. So talking with Rich, I think that's generally consistent with what he wants or what he envisions. Again, it's one of those things that kicking it down the can year after year after year is never going to get this into motion. I would certainly suggest that if this is going to be a conversation, we probably need to start the conversation now for a grant, probably in 2019, to determine the safe routes to park, maybe in collaboration with the Hill Grant or something along those lines. But definitely put a project of this magnitude sort of in a long range, which would fit perfectly in the 3-year or 2-year discussion as it relates to master planning and other things like that, I would imagine, right? So, yes.
This, looking at the map, this looks like it would be like a multi-use path for bikes and pedestrians going along Claggett Creek watershed.
Yes.
Okay. And from the map, I see a lot of green, which is probably grass or trees or whatever it is.
Overgrowth invasives. Yeah.
Overgrowth.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, basically, the theory is there's a path that I think connects at Croc Center, and then maybe even a bridge over the parkway. I mean, it's a pretty huge project. I mean, it's not you're going to throw a cake sale together and get this done. But yes, essentially.
I don't know if you can get it in the second year, because there's some property acquisition you have to do to make this park connect.
Well, I think it's under sort of the master planning methodology discussion, because I think in order to do any of it, you'd probably have to master plan it out, right?
Yeah, because we don't own continuous all the way down North
Right,
Ridge.
right.
There's a pie cut out of it for some reason.
Couple chunks.
And the people who are occupying the easements along Verda that go down to the park, they know they're on the easement.
Right.
So I don't think we're gonna have a problem if we decide to put something in there. We probably have to fence it so people don't do much to their yards. But those are the two biggest hurdles right there.
I have a couple of questions about this. First of all, we are undertaking a project that includes property that we don't own, belongs to another city. They may already have plans,
Where are you?
well, wherever the Croc Center is, that's absolutely
Oh, that's,
Salem.
yeah. Right,
Okay.
right.
All right, I just
Yeah.
want to make sure that I'm not being out of place. So, that being said, the first thing we need to do probably, or whoever, not us, and I really feel like this is a project that goes above the domain of parks.
Right.
This becomes a city-to-city project, a conjunction project with City of Salem.
If it were to span the parkway, you're right.
Well, if it doesn't, what does it do?
Well, essentially, it would terminate at
Parkway.
Ben Miller. It would terminate at Ben Miller, Claggett Creek Middle School.
Okay, well, so that's a whole different project. So, yes, that could be addressed internally.
Right.
So, while I think it's a great plan, I think it's a bigger scope than
Well, it's huge.
we want to deal with. And I applaud Richard Walsh for coming up with the idea, but I think pursuing it through the parks is not the way to go.
Well, and to be perfectly honest with you, I like Rich, but I'm not going to give him the credit for it. This was actually originally anticipated back in the 1980s. There was a gentleman on the Parks Board that came and talked to us, I don't even remember when it was, like a year or so ago, but this was actually originally designed back in the 1980s. So I think
Not
Rich...
part of any master plan, though. Is it?
Yes,
No,
it
it
is.
was.
Is it?
It is in our master plan.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
That's been Clark Williams.
I think that maybe, yeah, I don't remember what the guy's name was, but anyways, the Keizer plan, I think, Don, and thank you for allowing me to clarify that. The Keizer plan essentially would be to terminate at Ben Miller.
Thank you.
There at the at the school, which would be a really natural thing to do because you're talking both
Correct.
safe access for parks, but also schools as well, because it would terminate right for access to Weddell Elementary as well as Clyde Creek Middle School. So
Thank you. Yeah, so that might be something we want to address, but not the scope that you had originally.
no, that's Jahujic. I mean, if you want to talk about Rich's full idea, it would go all the way up to Willamette Manor or Willamette Bottom.
Oh, wow.
So that's really kind of it. Again, we're past the deadline on the grant for this year. I think if we had a decision point tonight, the decision point tonight would be, do we want to stick this in a long-range planning discussion, and then probably bring back the discussion on the grant, maybe first quarter.
Well, I'm even looking at maybe the master plan SDC rethinking in year 2.
Well, and Robert, do you think there would be any benefit of having the grant happen parallel to the master plan to sort of inform the master plan? There's no benefit for that?
Not that I'm seeing.
Okay.
Um,
Okay. So, Richard Walsh, I hope you're watching. You're welcome. That's all I got on that, Mr. Chair.
It would have been nice if Richard could have addressed us as a group.
He unfortunately had another plan tonight, which is why I spent a couple hours with him last night. So, and frankly, most of us like to go to bed before midnight. So,
Good job.
No, that'd be 1 o'clock with Richard,
right.
because he'd be late.
You're not wrong.
Okay, I think this is yours. Update on solar eclipse marker at Keizer Rapids Park.
I won't have that report till the next meeting in January. Working on it, but I just don't have it.
All right. Do we have an update on exercise equipment in parks?
She's not here.
So there's kind of two parts to this, as I understand, right, Robert?
yes.
So I think before we dive into what Jeff's got, did you guys all get the video from Dylan about the National Fitness Campaign? Did everybody watch it?
It was actually from the mayor.
Was it from the
before
mayor?
last
Okay.
meeting, yeah.
Yeah. So Mayor Clark sent that out. Did everybody watch it? Do we need to watch it again? So the short and sweet version of it is the National Fitness Campaign is planning on 200 facilities throughout the country this year. They provide $30,000 in equipment and funding to create a pretty big 7-station, 7-minute workout per station, requiring $90,000 locally. Something like that right now is currently only anticipated at Keizer Rapids. Dylan is actually really super excited about this right now. I think he's going to pursue trying to kind of do this organically as a grassroots effort. I talked with Dylan and these folks on a conference call here a few weeks ago. They have created partnerships with local health facilities and things like that in the past, where local health facilities have just come right out and said, you know what, 90 grand, sure, here's a check. I think that in addition to what we're going to hear about here in just a minute, it might be worth discussing. I'm not necessarily in the camp of trying to pursue local dollars from the city at this point, maybe other than possibly some SEC funding for this. But I think if Dylan's going to pursue this like I think he's going to pursue it, I think we should certainly be willing to have that conversation. We do have the video queued up if we want to watch it. Debbie's got it ready to go, or we can not and then proceed on to hear from Jeff and Robert.
I would like to see it again, if it's
All right,
queued
let's
up.
play the video.
No more sugar for you.
Too late. Drop the screen down. Okay.
It's kind of cool. You get all motivated, right? If they had Sarah McLaughlin music to to it, we'd all be just writing checks right now. Promise.
We could write all the checks we want. May not be any good.
We returned in 2018 and built partnerships with over 100 cities.
Yeah, today too.
We returned.
Comes down.
I don't know why. That's today when I tested it.
Oh, maybe you have mice in there. The remote control. That's really ugly color.
I'm doing what every AV guy in the world hates.
Microphone is the laptop.
Yeah, the speakers are towards the front of that
feel like a kid.
path there.
Theater in the
Yeah,
front
they're
row.
right there. What I did earlier when I tested, it seemed to work pretty good. There's pretty good speakers.
Okay, here we go.
Returned in 2018 and built partnerships with over 100 cities. We've raised over $15 million to help make fitness a priority across America, and we're just getting started. Let's make world-class fitness free for everyone. Hi, I'm Mitch Menadjus, founder of the National Fitness Campaign. National Fitness Campaign started in 1979 when we invented the fitness court. Our first two fitness courts were at Stanford and San Francisco, and the mayor and Wells Fargo Bank got behind the program, so we opened fitness courts in 4,000 cities across America. We're introducing a new fitness court for the 21st century and launching a new national fitness campaign. The fitness court will allow you to use your own body weight to get a perfect workout. Our 7-movement, 7-minute system allows you to get a full body workout in just 7 minutes. 45 seconds of work at each station, followed by 15 seconds of rest. The system is progressive, so people at all fitness levels can use it. Easy or hard, it will work for everyone. You can come to the fitness court and do any workout. If you're training for a Tough Mudder or if you're running a marathon, the fitness court will work for you. You can download our mobile app, learn our routines, and take some of the fitness challenges. This will allow you to compete on the fitness court against your own score and against your friends. Campaign partners and sponsors will be providing exciting new elements in 2019. Digital training moves to Apple Watch audio guides. Regional training camps in 18 cities. Fitness court classes nationwide. The Fitness Court Challenge Series with local, regional, and national events. We're joining forces with city partners to build 200 fitness courts across America in 2019. NFC provides $30,000 in grant funding to match city adoption and local funding. National Fitness Campaign is a social enterprise and I take no salary, so all the money we raise goes directly to building fitness courts across America. We see the fitness court as the next step in the evolution of outdoor infrastructure.
I think it's amazing.
I love the fact that this is here and it's been here. It's awesome. You can do a ton of different kind of workouts here.
And at the end of the day, we all want a healthy, active community, no matter where we live. We envision fitness courts joining basketball courts and tennis courts as essential elements of healthy infrastructure in cities and schools. Our goals are big, but the need is great. We're excited to work with you to build fit communities. Join us as we showcase the results of 100 cities who've partnered with us in 2018. Let's make world-class fitness free for everyone.
Jeff, is that kind of what you had in mind?
So the cool thing is if you so the cool thing is actually if you build one of these, you're guaranteed sunshine every day of the year.
Yeah.
We almost
palm
have
trees.
it already.
40 inches rain.
So that's again that's the one that Dylan and Zyra kind of picked up on after seeing the mayor's email. And so, again, I think Dylan's really motivated about it. I think Jeff back there is also becoming motivated about the same thing. Maybe not. So anyways, that's that element. And Robert.
I'd like to invite Jeff forward if you came to present us some information tonight.
Should I move this? Good evening, everybody. So that's pretty exciting stuff that's being offered by the National Fitness Campaign, and I think it's great that Dylan and Zyra are going to look into that further. And I figured, as it relates to what I'm looking at, it probably would take, let's say, Keizer Rapids Park off of my priority list and maybe move it over there for now. That's kind of the way I'm seeing. I think it's a great, when you see what's being offered there, that's a great opportunity. And I think a lot of people will benefit from it. I'm thinking more of a localized, like you don't have to travel far to get to where you're going to exercise, which is why I came up with the idea of putting the infrastructure in every park in Keizer. So I brought some things tonight. Excuse me just a moment. I'm going to verbally give you numbers. May I approach the group? What's being provided to you is the initial rollout that I've envisioned in terms of which parks are the priorities. In addition to that, there's some examples of exercise equipment that I want you to see. Ultimately, what I'm looking for is feedback. My next stop's going to be Rotary, where I'm going to ask for a sizable contribution from Rotary, and in terms of money and labor, and then I'll be back here to look for matching funds from the board, and the foundation will be my next stop, I think. What you're seeing there is just some. The idea is we want to create spaces where people can move their body and get a great workout, no matter what physical capacity you have today. And we also want to approach this project in an economical way, so that we can really cover the area that we're talking about, bringing it to every neighborhood. So my current vision is that, I know, Donna, you gave some feedback. I appreciate it. You said, focus on one park, and I looked at that, and I thought, 1 is good. I'm thinking 4 is the number, which is why you have 4 in front of you, and those are the 4 I'd like to concentrate on. It would be Claggett would be the first, Wallace House would be the second, Meadows the third, and then, gosh darn it.
Country Glen?
Say that again.
Country Glen?
Country Glen, yes, sir. Why those parks? Well, our hardworking staff here at Keizer Parks have already put the infrastructure in place, so it would just be right off the infrastructure that's already there. We would establish one of these locations. The idea would be one location at each park that people could come down to and just exercise at. There is one additional item that you're not seeing in front of you today, and that is a very convenient a single piece of equipment that allows for 7 exercises, and it's very economical, and it goes right into concrete. And that information I will bring to you at the next meeting, or I might be able to give it via email. So 4 parks, 4 different layouts, and all I'm really trying to do is gauge your interest. And ultimately, because this could go either way, and I'm looking for buy-in, do we want to do something different in every park? Do we want to just take one thing and stamp it out in every park? Any feedback like that? Let me give you some numbers really quick. For the Claggett Creek Park, that idea there, which is, they call that a combination hub, and then the next piece of equipment next to it is called parallel bars. That total cost on that delivered on site is $7,120. Okay?
That's it, just delivered, not installed?
Correct. We're going to install it locally, I think. Is there an issue with that, Robert?
No.
Okay, we can find somebody, yeah.
Yeah, we should be able to.
I'm going to get that time donated, or at least partially donated.
Turn it into a volunteer project.
Pardon?
Turn it into a volunteer project
Yeah, absolutely.
to
Yep.
get help.
Yep. That would be the idea.
So Jeff, are you thinking about putting this in the grass, or are you doing what are you doing for the foundation for this?
Yeah, so I'm gonna, there's a couple of concrete contractors here that we're going to build a perimeter around these surfaces, that the idea would be somewhere down the road, you might do a pour-in-place rubberized surface, but in the interim, in speaking with Robert, we utilize the bark chips from the old Big Toy and put that surface in there.
So you're talking about doing a concrete bumper filled with the wood material?
Mm-hmm.
Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah.
Here's the reason why. The rubberized surface is expensive, and if we, let's say we chunk this project into one park at a time, it would cost, for the rubberized surface at Claggett Park, $10,880 installed.
Wow.
Okay? For Keizer, for Wallace House, $10,495. For Meadows, $9,485. And for the final park, Country Glen, $10,880 for a grand total of about $40,000. If we were to have all those parks in place and then call them to pour in the rubber, it's $26,000. So it's a $14,000 reduction.
Wow.
If you do them all at the same time.
If we do them all at the same time. And, my thought is it's going to be, in my opinion, easy to get the money for the parts and to actually get 4 parks going if we don't go for the rubberized surface right out of the gate.
We have plenty of wood chips.
Okay.
I mean, so the one at Claggett you're talking about, it's almost a 400 square foot area. I mean, it's pretty big.
Yep, 19 by 21. And these are just, like I said, ideas. I think the most efficient space when I look at all of this is what's proposed for Wallace House. And then there's one additional that's not here, which is a concrete pad that would have to be 12 by 12 with a piece of equipment affixed in the middle of it that would have 7 exercises on it. And that is, I don't have the number in front of me, but I believe it's about $10,000 delivered for that piece of equipment.
So that's in addition to this?
That is an option you will see in the final discussion next month.
So, in between all of these sheets of the different parks,
Mm-hmm.
there are pages of examples.
Mm-hmm.
Are those examples the only thing that would be put in those individual parks? Or is that an example of a combination of things that will be put in every park?
Yeah, so the way those are currently presented, that would be the only thing put in the park.
So it's giving you options at different parks.
Yeah, what I'm trying to demonstrate is a couple things. First of all, kind of the size of the equipment and the options. And we could really go, I'm not married to the specific pieces of equipment I'm currently showing you. I'm trying to give you an idea of the direction I'm thinking of going.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
So Jeff, brass tacks, all 4 parks, equipment on site, what's it going to cost?
To get the equipment on site, I apologize. Let me just do some math here really quick. It was.
I don't do math in public either, so it's okay.
Something close.
4, 8, oops.
It's got the calculator. It's a big number.
One of those kinds of people that can't just get something close. Yes.
Well, I hope not. He's like, he's an Edward Jones guy. He's real smart.
Okay, so for the equipment alone, using the exact examples that I've shown, it's $24,630.
So then you're talking concrete donations, labor donations, donations to get the wood chips put in. So you're probably talking easily another probably, what?
I haven't put a price tag on it yet.
Okay.
It's
pretty ambitious. Cool.
I think, like I said, so the idea would be to get a lot of that from Rotary and some of the other potential sources of funding, but a lot of the labor would come from Rotary. It would come from some of the other groups in the city that are interested in doing stuff like that, like Boy Scouts, like ROTC, and things of that nature. And of course, the wood chips are going to come from the city. And I haven't worked out the concrete piece yet, but it looks like it's going to work out in our favor. So, and then I'm going to ask for a sizable amount from Rotary in terms of a cash donation on Monday. So, and once I have a dollar figure from them, I'm hoping to kind of then come here and with an ask and then hit the foundation as well.
Do you think having a tentative, we really like this, is going to be helpful for your conversation with Rotary?
Absolutely. I think any support I could leverage in my conversations would be, I would use and leverage.
Question?
Yes, Clint?
No, she said.
Oh,
So, we have a couple of board members who are looking into this exercise equipment that's being presented by a national group.
Sure.
Is there a particular reason why you think it would be better for us to focus our efforts, both money-wise and volunteer-wise, to doing 4 parks than doing more than 4 parks for a larger amount of money, but with a bigger asset? Is there, that's what I don't understand. I'm sure somebody's going to bring this up to you
Sure.
in the deliberation, and so what is the advantage of us doing it in a smaller venue
Mm-hmm.
rather than pursuing this national?
Yeah, that's a great question. I appreciate that, Donna. In looking at, if you take an aerial view of Keizer and you think about our citizens and their capacity to set time aside to exercise, the round trip to Keizer Park from, say, the Meadows takes a while in itself. And in one way, I think if you want to create health in somebody's life, you're going to give them back their time. And so it's hard to quantify that, but the ability to go to the park nearest them and to exercise, I think, is going to get much more traffic than if you have to make an event out of every time you want to go exercise. That's really my belief. Now, I personally exercise every day, and it's a habit of mine. I just do it, and I prefer to lift heavy weight. That's what I like to do. But not everybody likes to do that. And when I see this great fitness opportunity presented in the way that it was presented, the packaging, if you look at it, is about CrossFit, and it's about a particular style of exercise that I don't think is going to be really beneficial to our citizens in a lot of ways, or at least not as beneficial as it's portrayed. I think if it's convenient, if it's simple, I think people will utilize it, and the closer we can get it to their front door, the better, because the walk there will be the part of the exercise regime, you know. In addition to that, I think I just demonstrated that I could cover for considerably less, at least bring this equipment closer to the front door of our community for considerably less.
And sooner?
And sooner, yeah. The thought would be to get the 4 parks done by the end of the biennium, right? So before July 1.
Are you going to be asking for a grant from Parks Board?
I will, yeah.
Okay. And how much are you going to be asking for?
Well, I think I'm going to ask Rotary for $8,000. So I was going to ask for something similar from the board.
Okay. Have we got 8,000?
Approximately.
Good. Okay. Will you have that for us by next month?
Yeah. And hopefully I'll have an answer from Keizer Rotary by then too.
Mr. Chair, if I can piggyback off Donna's comment, I think I think there's two conversations happening simultaneously. I think Jeff has been putting in the hard work for quite a few months now. I don't want to take away from his efforts by this whole thing. This is something the mayor brought up. I think Dylan and Zyra are excited about it. Dylan's the project lead. He unfortunately wasn't able to be here today, so I told him I'd carry the mantle for him on this particular one. Again, in terms of priority, Jeff has been putting the effort into it, and if I were going to put my eggs in a basket right now, it would be to jump on the train with Jeff, because he's walking the walk, right? But at the same time, I think if Dylan and Zyra also gain momentum, I don't see any lack of benefit from having both conversations, right? I mean, if they can come to the table with $90,000 and Jeff can come to the table with his project, everybody wins, right?
Yeah.
So what I don't want to do is try to pit one against the other. I think, we want to encourage Jeff to continue the hard work he's put in. I mean, this is, I love you, Peggy and Jerry, but this is the best plan I've ever seen come forward in terms of anything leading up to a parks grant. I mean, this is well thought out, this is well studied, really great work, and you haven't even asked for anything yet, right? Other than just a little bit of support. So, yeah, that's just kind of my, if Dylan and Zyra can get this going, great. I mean, but I'm working with Jeff right now on this, and I think we need to continue to focus our efforts where the work's happening right now, so.
I agree with that. I just wanted to hear
Yeah.
what he had to say about that himself.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Jeff, I'd like to thank you for doing this plan and for making it available locally to the people so it's easy to get to. I think that's a great idea. And the equipment looks like is self-maintaining type of equipment. No moving parts, right? I think that's
Correct.
one of the things you were looking at.
Correct.
So I'm thinking it's a great idea.
Okay.
I like the availability, community, easy access.
I'm going to go back to one question, Mr. Chair. So you have this, you have an alternative.
Yeah, there's one more piece of equipment that we really just came across. I think it came across my desk yesterday via Robert. Thank you, Robert. It's affordable and it has some really great utility, and it doesn't have the same surface requirements that the other stuff has. And I think it's a great option that, here's my thought, we should show some variation in what we do at the parks, and maybe as we roll this out, because I do envision maybe doing 4 parks a year for a while, just so you know. Next year, if that one piece of equipment is particularly favorable, when you look at our community from an aerial view, there's probably an opportunity to put it in another park fairly close to people too. So we could use the feedback we're getting and offer solutions to people in maybe a neighboring park. It was a long answer, but the point is, I'm thinking 4 different kinds of stations, including one you haven't seen yet, and I'll show it to you. It will have moving parts, but they've gone a long, long way to make them safe, so you can't smash your fingers to make it so they don't wear out. And it's real heavy duty and totally self-enclosed. And the only real moving part in this thing is, well, there's 2. One is there's a way to be assisted in what's called a dip. So you kind of lower your body and then raise it back up, kind of like this. And then the other one assists you with a pull-up. And it's both great compound exercises for people, and what this little unit does is it helps you lift your own weight a little bit. And then the other part of it that actually moves is a sled that everything's self-contained on the backside with the rollers, but it's a way for you to lean up against it and perform a non-weighted squat.
Yeah.
So you could go through some reps leaning up against that to really exercise your legs.
I just thought it was a really bad way to change diapers. It just,
So in this this handout you've got going around now, it's got several people could use that at the same time. Looks like about 4 people at a time. And the other ones in your first diagram, it looks like you could have multiple people using the equipment at the same time.
Yep, all of them would allow for, anywhere from 4 to, in some cases, 6 people to use them at the same time. Yep. The Wallace House has 6 stations on it.
So I guess maybe my suggestion would be, if you're looking at both of these options, maybe find an aggregate number that would cover sort of equal numbers between both, right? So if you can say maybe 2 for this and two for this style that you've presented, maybe 2 for this, find kind of an aggregate number that would allow you to do both in terms of getting the most dollar amount, and then maybe you decide to do all 4 of that complex style or all 4 of the regular ones. But
Okay, I got it.
you see what I'm saying? To give you to leverage your opportunity the most. I think that you've got some challenges in terms of your concrete needs and potential with the current setup. I think with a smaller footprint and just doing concrete only and not have to worry about a fall surface with the other, it may change your cost benefit analysis a little bit. And it's just kind of, as you present that with Rotary, really try to maximize your dollar there as much as possible, recognizing that construction costs are only going up. So if you think it's going to be a $10,000, add 20%. I mean, we're seeing that industry-wide right now with pretty much, especially with concrete work.
Okay.
Robert knows probably better than anybody how difficult it was to get the path layers out there this year for asphalt. I mean, concrete work right now is at a premium, so just keep that in mind. Donated, yeah, that's a different story. But again, you kind of want to plan for worst case scenario almost.
Okay.
So it could potentially impact your grant from us, but maybe reduce it just a little bit. But I'm sure we can find ways to maximize every dollar and every effort that comes forth. So
Okay.
really, really good record keeping is also going to be essential, especially as you do time donations and things like that, in keeping with your parks matching grant. So just a couple notes there.
Okay.
Just looking at this,
That's it. Yep.
it looks like a really great piece of equipment. But my first thought was this looks like something that somebody who had a lot of time on their hands and wanted to destroy something would have a field day with.
Sure.
Having
Yeah.
it out in a place where it would be not supervised would be, I think, not a good idea. It does say for correctional facilities, which indicates to me that it would be equipment that would be in a supervised area. And so your example of less tantalization by vandalism would be an important thing. So in my opinion, this is not what we're looking for in the parks.
Okay.
Yes, Robert?
I could speak to that a little bit. It does say correctional facilities on there. It's also highly broadcast throughout the nation in parks and designed for parks. It doesn't specifically say that on the front page.
I understand that. And I didn't even see that part of it
Yep.
until after I made my
And we're also not, just so everybody knows as you looked at that, we're not looking at the most fancy, high-class version of it. We would keep it with the more simple style, less moving parts. And it's powder-coated, welded steel, all enclosed. So as far as vandalism goes, other than being able to take a marker to it or spray paint, which you can do to any item in this world, vandalism on that is going to be way down.
That was just my opinion. Thank you.
All righty. Are you going to come back next month and see us?
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Okay.
So
Chairman. No.
Any other questions?
Chair,
Yes?
if the board wants to indicate their support, it might be a good idea to make a motion so that it is on the record that you support, a motion to support his proposal or that sort of thing.
I think it's a good idea.
Yes, Clint?
I'd like to make a motion to that effect, that we're interested in helping him. And, because there might be other people that might come along and want to apply for that same amount of money, so. And we're running out of time anyway, so I'd like to support that motion.
I second that.
Donna seconds it. Do you want to read the motion back to us, Debbie?
Support the exercise equipment placement plan for the 4 area parks.
There, see? She knows how to translate, Clint.
She speaks Clint.
Practice.
Well, it is a foreign language, so.
Well, see, this way you don't have to redo it 2 or 3 times, and then she still tells you how it should be in the motion.
Right.
So let her do it.
It's really supposed to be you do it, and she copies it. Well, whatever.
Well said, Clint. Well said.
Well said, Clint. And Donna seconded it. Any discussion?
Great work.
What?
I'm just saying, great work.
Oh, okay. I can't hear very well tonight.
Huh?
All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes to support this
Thanks,
project.
Jeff, for your hard work.
Thank you all. Let's see, this is gonna get exciting.
Do you want this piece back? Anybody?
I think that was Robert's.
Davis.
We went over this earlier. It's okay.
I might suggest that you contact Keizer Permanente or maybe some grant opportunities there.
Yeah, the Heal grant.
They are very much into that.
Did you want this brochure back?
That's Robert's, actually.
What's Robert's?
Roberts, yeah, pass that back here.
I'm gonna stay through the remainder.
Okay, Parks report. And the vacant person isn't here. We'll get him twice next time. And Donna Bradley.
Nothing's changed in my 2 parks.
And what parks are those?
I look at PFC Ryan J. Hill Memorial and Northridge. Northridge is wildland, and the memorial is always neat and tidy.
We'll skip to you since Clint isn't where he's supposed to be.
The parks are wet.
The parks are wet.
No,
Congratulations.
so yeah, they're doing some good, always maintaining good work. Actually, Robert's been to Bob Newton before I was recently.
Wow.
So had kind of a lot going on, but Chalmers Jones, I'm really excited to have the new Peggy and Jerry Moore Community Garden over there at Chalmers Jones Park. And I can feel the death rays coming from the audience right now, but that's okay. Excited that the skate park's gonna be getting looked at, but it's going into the wet season, so not as many kids out playing. Have seen a couple people out at Bob Newton playing pickleball, of all things. I was down there, going down through the neighborhood, and I kind of riding the motorcycle, and I stopped to see what was going on, and I saw people playing pickleball, and I realized it was a real sport, and people aren't making it up. So, Davis.
Okay. I think we'll skip Clint. Staff report.
I don't have much. We've talked about most of it tonight already, but I will just say leaf season is officially behind us for this year, and I'm extremely happy for that because the rain just showed up, and it was very good to us this year. It was dry, and we were able to get a lot of mowing done and get through the leaves without too much hassle. So that's good. And like Matt said, we've been getting great feedback on not just at Bob Newton, but Claggett Creek Park, especially on usage of the new basketball court. I've heard from many people that they're out there using it and using it and using it. So every time I drive by, it seems like I see somebody out there. Even I go home and you can barely see, and there's still some kid out there shooting hoops till they can't see the basketball anymore. So it's neat to see. So that's all I got.
Okay, Roland. One eye Roland.
First of all, I want to thank Mr. Davis for coming to us with that. It takes residents and people to step up and do. That's how we got a lot of our projects done. And Matt, you know what I'm talking about because you're one of those people that comes up and starts from somewhere and acts on it, and I really appreciate that. I've seen many projects happen that start with one idea, and here we are. It's gonna happen. So hopefully we'll help out. So. Okay, back to my report here. I apologize for the way I look. I know I'll get some, I've already heard all the jokes, one-eye jokes already. So. One of the boring stuff is that with the council, we agreed on a rate increase, a small rate increase, which encompasses a base of over $2 for everybody, all residents, and on the commercials, a 7.5 increase. What we did do is advise a one-year review for them to come back in a year and see where we're at. They hadn't asked for, the haulers haven't asked for a raise in 3 years. And we always kind of look at them as a utility, but they're also a local business who supports a lot of our activities in this community. And so we want to make sure we're fair. They have taken a nice big loss in the last few years. and we took all that in consideration. To the interesting stuff now, on January 7th, we'll be swearing in our new counselors. That would be Elizabeth Smith and Dan Kohler. So that's going to be a nice, and by the way, myself and Mayor Kathy will be also doing on our next terms. And that would be a very nice event. I also want to take this time to thank our folks that are leaving, Bruce Anderson and Amy Ryan, for the great work that they've done, the team effort they work with us. And they will be getting a tree planted in their honor for the term. And I think they're going to be, I don't know exactly where they're going to be, but I guess they'll
Can
direct
Bruce's
that.
be a spruce? Just
Bruce's be a spruce.
What's that?
Can Bruce's be a spruce?
Yeah, okay, yeah. Well, somebody said they were gonna put one in the dog park, so I thought maybe a dogwood. There you go, along your lines. Also, I want to mention that as a member of Keizer United and also as an advisory board at CTEC, we kind of put those together. We're gonna have our Keizer United, which is usually held here on the January the 14th. I've just secured today, actually, our culinary class over at CTEC is going to provide lunch for 20 of us, and I'm inviting anybody that wants to come along to that January 14th meeting at 12:15 at CTEC on Portland Road. The culinary class, like I say, will be providing. Thank you to Wendy, the culinary teacher, and Chuck Lee for providing the space, and we can get a little mini tour for all the Keizer United folks from all over. I think you guys are going to be part of that. Is it correct? So that's another exciting thing that's going on. Also, we have our Hall of Fame coming up in March 14th. And that's going to be a great event. I'm on that committee also, and we're going to be admitting inducting Sean Kittner and our 2009 baseball team, which is very close to my heart because they were my 10-year-old team. They won the last state championship, and we're really proud of them. There's also going to be a Coach Doherty, and then I can't remember the other lady, the young lady's name, and I apologize for that. I think an athlete from the early 80s, and I can't remember her name. She was a track person, I believe. But anyway, that'll be a great event, and I would advise everybody, if they're interested, contact me for Hall of Fame tickets, or if you know a business that would like to help sponsor a table, help us out. And I know Keizer is very good at doing that. Let's see, what else did I have? Pretty much that's all I have, but like I say, the First Citizen Dinner will be coming up in January the 19th. Is that correct? Clint, and and we'll all be part. I know Matt and Clint are always part of it, and hopefully you guys will. It's a great event, and we will be recognizing some of the folks that do the great contributions, like our citizens come up with all the time, and you know, we have so many great people in Keizer that step up every year, and sometimes they're under the radar. So we should always kind of keep out for those people that are, because the folks that aren't visible are doing a lot of good work. They should be recognized, and I've always felt that way. So, anyway, and thank you for your great work, folks. And again, apologize for my. I think I'm still a little bit on those meds that they gave me, but my wife drove me here, and she'll pick me up. So, and that's all I got. Did you have something?
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Did you say that the rate increase was for garbage hauling?
Yes.
Okay, I didn't hear that part, so I always wanted to make
Okay.
sure that they knew it wasn't the Parks Board rate increase.
I won't get into the sausage making, but I will say this. We had three options, and we felt like this was the correct option. At the same time, being fair to our citizens, we want them to come back with a year, on February of 2009, or excuse me, 12 months from now. February 2019 is when the rates start. And it's good. You expect your rates to go up like $2 for the green hauler. I don't have all the specifics in my head, but I do remember that the base increase was $2.02, so for what it's worth. And when I look at my bills, and I want residents to hear that, you know, you always think of, you know, another increase, but, you know, looking at all of what we've done in Keizer, from the parks, police, to all the activities, you know, it takes money to have a great community, and I'm talking about all sides. And like I say, our particular hauler in town, the two haulers in town, contribute quite a bit to a lot of and like I said, they've taken quite a loss in the last few years. We've checked on all this stuff, and as a council, we felt like it was fair to the citizens and to them to do it that way, a half year, a year, and then come back, review, and look at it. I'm not saying we're going to make some changes, but we want to look exactly, especially for the new coming counselors, to see how that works and see what's fair. So that's all I got. Any other questions anybody had? Thank you for your work, folks. That's all I got.
Thank you, Roland. Matt?
Watershed's been pretty quiet lately. We've kind of in our downtime through the holidays. We did do a joint project with Keizer Pac-12 Scouts, where we actually kind of went out and finished the project out at Country Glen Park. I had 5 7 and 8-year-old scouts doing some cleaning of the play structure there. We actually took the sign from looking like a big salad plate to looking clean. And so the park generally is in a lot better repair than it has been in quite some time.
I saw you go that way.
We're going to be resuming our meetings in January. We'll be looking for 1 or 2 new council members. So if you have any interest in working with the Claggett Creek Watershed Council, we will be looking for a couple new councilors. We'll be electing a new chair. I'm the current chair, but you know, if somebody wants to step up and kick me out, then great. If they want to keep me on there, then that's awesome as well. We'll be doing our annual Ben Miller cleanup probably in February. It usually depends kind of on the rain, but I don't think that it's going to be a big deal this year like it has in years past. But that's usually something we couple with the middle school down there. The really cool thing is, over the last couple years, we've actually started to develop a relationship with Claggett Creek, which has always kind of been the other middle school. And since that's right near their school, the principal there has really enjoyed kind of engaging the students there. And so I'm trying to get them to take full ownership of this project this year. And then in April, again, we're celebrating our 2nd annual Soggy Day in the Park. It'll be a free event for anybody in Keizer to come, anybody in Salem and Keizer in the Claggett Creek watershed to come and enjoy the Keizer Rotary Arboretum in honor of Wilbur Bloom. Also the boat tours, the scenic walks. We're going to hopefully have a bouncy house or 2 out there, so I'm looking for sponsors. Last year we had Willamette Valley Appliance sponsored the bounce house. So if anybody wants to, you know, throw in $500, $600, $700 to help do that, then that's great. Love to get our business sponsors out there. And then just a really cool day. The kids enjoy it. Robert doesn't as much. No, actually, and I'm gonna Robert. I tell this story all the time. What, 3.5, 4 hours straight, standing up in the backhoe with young kids, showing them how to operate it. I mean, yeah, it was terrible. I felt horrible for him, but especially since every little guy or girl that came up and he just had that great puppy dog look, and I looked up at Robert, and together we couldn't say no, which I didn't have a problem with it because I wasn't the one bending over. But anyways, great event. We got a lot of really cool projects planned for this year, and really excited to kind of pursue that. The other big one that's going to happen in May is the annual Civic Center cleanup. Huge event. We usually get a couple hundred people out here. Again, kind of piggybacking off what Roland said, you know, Lawrence Sanitation always donates the 30-yard debris bin on that, and they generally take care of the cost of disposing of that. It's not a huge cost, but it's one of those things where having our local partners is always so much of a tremendous benefit, and the work they do is huge. So I think that's it. I'm going to find out about providing an update on the Little League Task Force probably at the next meeting. We had a really good meeting this last go around, but I don't know that we're quite ready to come out with any details on that. But I can tell you that the conversations are progressing in a very objective and constructive manner. So I think that's it for now, Mr. Chair. Thank you as always.
Thank you, Matt. Donna?
Sorry. The Parks Foundation is meeting quarterly now. Our organization is dwindling in partners participation. So we've decided to go to quarterly meeting process, which seems to be working out fine. We are in contact with each other via phone, email, et cetera, on a regular basis. I'm pleased to hear that the solar panels project for the garden is under completion, and we can close our grant with you on that. What else? I will take your suggestions to them at our next meeting regarding the dog park, the benches, and/or more additional trees to see if, what that will do, and I'll get in touch with you to find out what benches cost now, unless you know off the top of your head. 1,000, okay, thanks. That's about it. We do have grant monies available. We are working hard on the shade protection for the big toy at this point, and I'm sure that will take up a major portion of the money that we raised for the eclipse, so. Seems like it. I've been investing the money, no.
Clint,
Yes.
it's your turn. You want to do your report on?
Keizer Little League, I was going to give a report on task force, but Matt took care of it.
I didn't say anything.
I know. So the task force is moving along, and there's going to be some recommendations, I think, by the mayor and the city manager here pretty soon after we get done. We won't meet this month, but we will meet in January. The Keizer Little League, not much has happened since the last report. They got done at the end of October with NAFTA, which is a big organization that was there every Sunday. And I think 1 or 2 Saturdays, they filled the whole complex all day long. I'm kind of sorry to see that the projects we had scheduled for the fall, we didn't do any of them. One, we were going to put the net, which we've owned for quite a while, over the wheel down below, so we still haven't done that yet. And we were going to redo Field 2 in the fall, and we didn't do that. So probably that stuff will be on the agenda for sometime next year. Mike Whittam Park, not much to say on that. I'm always impressed with that park down there. They do a very good job, and looks nice all the time when you drive by. And we took a parks tour down there too, so it was pretty good.
Any other business? We stand adjourned at 8:50. Oh, thank you.
If I'm back in, I'm traveling to Medford that day, but if I'm back in time, I can do it. I should be back by 7, so I'm happy to do it. But if I can rely on a second just in case, I'll let you know by noon on Monday.
Oh, thank you.
Okay.
This is my last one. Well, I missed giving a report to council. But then I had to go give the supplemental report, but that only counts for half. I bet they're just picking up the cards. Okay, we stand adjourned at 7:50.